Barter Town.
Nice.
Basically, the Barter Town is the central location for economic activity in the sector. It's kind of neutral ground. All the factions can go there, and they're not expected. There are other factions involved, such as we have a group of basically bankers who are enforce the whole you don't fight in the barter towns because we want to do business here. So in those places you'll find auction houses, you'll find a larger bank system that allows you to transfer things between sectors. And more areas for socialization. We're trying to put at least one area in every town that players can hang out in and kind of make their own, like a bar that no one's using or something like that. So the players will have a place to hang out and role play.
Oh, I think that's great. We miss the socialization from some other games that we won't even talk about. And thanks for putting it back in.
Oh, no problem. But like I said, like a trade skill system. There are going to be right now we're shooting for 9 core trade skills such as ballistics for guns, armorcraft for making armor, science for making computers and chemistry, stuff like that. And these will go, in most games, the flow control of what you can make with a trade skill is based on components you can find. We're using that, but we're also using time as an element. For example, if you want to make a gun, you have to find some iron or some steel or whatever and get all the pieces together, assuming you have the plans to make it in the first place. But it also may take time. Say it takes like 6 hours to make a pistol. Mm-hmm. You don't have to sit there for 6 hours. Your character can go do whatever you want for 6 hours. You can log off.
Really?
And your character will keep making the gun. You can stack things. You can have a queue that will build things while you're not online. So if you want to, if you have the parts, you can say, well, I want to make 10 guns. I'm going to log off. 60 hours later, you've got 10 guns, regardless of what you do.
That's fantastic. So you're not crapping all over the crafters of the community,
exactly.
saying we're going to rob you of your adventure,
exactly,
while you provide the rest of the community with the tools to adventure with.
But we are using the most valuable asset a player has in an MMORPG is not their equipment, it's their time.
Yeah.
So by making crafters use their time, it makes them much more valuable because you don't just have to convince them, hey, here's some components, make me an item. It's, here's some components, will you please make me this item that's going to take you a bunch of time. Now I have to pay you for effort. It actually creates a sense of labor as opposed to I just click a thing and I get an item.
It's very immersive, I might add.
There will be some items that require you to go to specific locations. For example, when we get to the point of building cars, you're going to have to go to the machine shop to machine certain parts to make the car because you can't really build a car out in a wasteland with no tools. You
can't do it in the bathtub.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So there will be some things that will require you to go to special locations. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, you're just going to be able to run around and do whatever. Wherever you want to build this, whatever play activity you want to carry out, you'll be able to do.
Now this is the wasteland after all. Are we going to see anything like distilleries, moonshine salesmen,
oh God, yes.
anti-buff plus buff food sources?
Oh yes,
okay.
Definitely. I am a big fan. Having grown up in the South, I'm a big fan of moonshining.
Yeah, well, so, if I'm living in this world even virtually, I want to pretend that I'm drunk.
Yes, exactly. So yes, there's definitely going to be support for that type of activity.
Fantastic. So what are you going to show us next?
Let's see. What else is good around here? We can. We've been to Slaughterville, been to Boneclaw, showed you down the ground level. The voiceover. Let's see. Well, actually, I could take you outside of the approved testing area.
Anything that you're comfortable doing, sir.
Okay. Let's.
Oh wow.
Okay, this is our little cheater bus stop. Players aren't going to have this. This is how we get around in the game.
All right.
Hey, Alan, I'm going to go to Oilville. You don't have to come with me.
Okay, you can stay here?
Yeah, just stay here.
Again, very successful use of the voice over IP.
Yes.
Very nice.
So this is an example of one of the other towns, and you'll be able to see that prison I was talking about from here. This is the town for the tech faction in this sector. So, you'll probably be able to tell just by looking at it. This area.
I feel so lucky right now. It's like I'm going to show you this, and okay, it's like great.
Okay. As you can see, there's the plateau I was talking about over there on the left. You gotta wait for a second for it to load everything. Because as you can see, we're in an area that's a little greener now, a lot more trees, a lot more, basically this is a little nicer area than what we were in a minute ago.
The cows only have 3 heads in this kind of a neighborhood.
Exactly. So basically it's working on just getting everything loaded up.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Again, I'm just happy to see this up and running and coming along so well.
Okay, there we go. See, that is Oilville.
All right.
Now, if you see that thing on the hill behind it,
I do.
That is Kingman Prison.
Oh,
that is
nice name for it, by the way.
that quality credit for that has to go to Randy Ogle, the scenario designer. He came up with that, and that is the second major instance in the sector.
Really.
So
You know what? It looks intimidating even from this vantage point.
Yes.
I assume your tune will arrive, and he'll see like Oil Town, and then what is that black stain on the horizon?
Exactly. You can see. It would still take me about 10 to 15 minutes to run to that.
That's great.
That's how
though.
far away
You know
that
what?
is.
I'm a big fan of actually living in an environment and not
Exactly.
warping with a magic feather.
Yes.
Snorting my fairy dust and just like poof, I'm here.
Yes.
Whatever the circumstances are.
And see, you can see they've got their windmill farm going inside Oilville.
Yeah, we gotta, they gotta
Oil
get
tanks.
power. It's not like
Exactly.
society's gonna forget the day
Exactly.
after, the apocalypse comes through.
Exactly. And see, if you look around.
I love the bus stop map.
Yeah.
Nice addition.
See, basically, it's kind of hard to see from here, but there's basically the other major, the first major instance is actually right down here. You can see some of the buildings, just the outlines over here.
Yep.
But it's the kind of thing we didn't want to have. We didn't want to have it possible for you to stand at any point in the game and look around and see nothing.
I think that's great.
Which, considering how big our world is, that's a problem.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
That must be a gigantic challenge. Now,
Yes.
are we even going to approach that? I don't want to push the envelope. I mean,
There are going to be sectors of the game that you're not going to be in, or basically we have areas that are radiation dead zones that the players are not going to be able to go into.
Okay.
We're basically, a lot of them are areas that terrain-wise are just not good play areas, but we are going to basically be limiting the players to a certain play area, and then over time expanding that, because it does give us kind of like, for example, the first sector does have the radiation barrier around a good portion of it, but if at a later date we want to, say, introduce 10 new starter towns, we don't have to add in a whole new terrain area. We just remove that radiation border, throw some towns down, we're good to go.
that's fine. Evolving storyline. You can find
Exactly.
justification for anything like that.
Oh yeah. So basically we've got tons and tons of expansion room to go in, and then there's the other expansions we'd like to do. So we have lots of plans. Lots of
They all
plans.
seem very good. They all seem very well thought out, and you know what? They all seem new.
Yes.
And honestly, the stories that take place in this kind of post-apocalyptic setting aren't necessarily ones that we're not familiar with. I mean,
Right.
it's like, how many stories can one tell? Joseph Campbell taught us that it's all a human myth. And this is closer to home than a lot of the stuff that we see in games today, but it's just as fantastic.
Right.
So, I mean, I know our entire team at Massively Online Gamers, we're just super duper excited.
Well, it's
Fanboy level geekdom at its best.
well, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I mean, every time I look up and see the plateau, I'm just like, oh my god, that's awesome. I can
saw
run there.
that girl tune do a little kind of levitation and something happened. Is that something you can't show us, or is that something you can show us?
Okay, this may cause a problem.
Oh, well, then don't do what you don't want to do, but if you can do it, that'd be great.
I'll give it a shot.
So that's one of our first... Oh, shizzle.
Think how useful that would be in a first-person shooter game.
Instant cover.
Yeah.
Jumped up, manipulated the entire ground, and we have a very cool, like, alchemical kind of reaction, and now we have, and now it doesn't follow you around. It's like that's where it's at.
Nope.
Use it. So choose wisely.
Yes.
Thank you for showing us that.
No
That was
problem.
pretty exciting. And I guess you know what? That's been our time, Lee.
Okay,
I mean,
no
Lee,
problem.
thank you for talking
Thank
to
you.
us. Lee Hammock, Icarus Studios, Fallen Earth. We are going to go look at some other cool things. That was very exciting.